In this episode, we speak with Robin Dufresne, Executive Vice President and Senior Practice Director with CSG Government Solutions. Since joining CSG, Robin has had a significant impact on its growth and culture, supporting the expansion of its footprint to serve 48 states and territories, significantly growing its workforce with hundreds of talented consultants, and establishing a reputation for excellence in management consulting. Prior to CSG, Robin served as the Medicaid Operations Director for MaineCare Services. Robin has nearly 20 years of IT consulting experience and is a nationally recognized thought leader in healthcare IT and reform initiatives for government public assistance programs. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow.
RJ Lumba is the Executive Chairman of Market Insight Media and Managing Partner of GrowthCap. He is the host of Top Consultant, a podcast featuring today's best consultants who advise and provide services to corporations, governments, nonprofits, and other organizations. Executives and key decision makers tune in to Top Consultant to identify the most knowledgeable and experienced consultants for their most important projects.
Robin, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We're always interested in speaking with awardees who are top of their field. You are a leading consultant in the government space. Maybe for the benefit of our audience, start us off with some background on CSG.
Sure. CSG Government Solutions is about 28 years old. We're celebrating that coming up in April. And CSG provides project management services, a wide range of services from strategic visioning and planning to procurement support, project management support throughout the life cycle of their IT projects and implementation, as well as organizational change management services. As you said, specifically in state government is where we're focused.
And tell us a little bit about your background, because I believe you were working in state government previously, which probably set you up nicely for this consultant role.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually was working in a completely unrelated field, and the state of Maine, which is where I was living, had a system implementation that failed in their Medicaid agency. And I had a former colleague that reached out to me and asked me to join the state and to help lead them through the recovery effort of that system. That was back in 2006. That's how I got into working in state government. And really, I have a passion for the work that the agencies serve and see the value in technology and improving the efficiency of the administration of those programs. I joined as the Medicaid Operations Director, led the state through system recovery, as well as replacement of that system with leveraging private sector technology to help the state recover from that and move forward. And we did that within 4 years. And at that point where the system was in, and we had partnered with the federal oversight agencies for certifying that system, which was important for Medicaid funding. The federal government needed to ensure that the system was functioning as it should. And once that was successful, I moved to consulting with state government because, again, like I said, I'm very passionate about the projects that we serve, Medicaid as well as other projects, and really helping other agencies go through what I had just been through and take the lessons learned from that and help other states.
That's fantastic. And is there a specific example you could share with us? You can fill in the details as much as you'd like or state it broadly, but a little bit about maybe a project where you really helped maybe a state government agency or other organization, but where kind of the CSG value was brought to bear on its client.
Absolutely. I was thinking about this, and I have a couple of examples, but probably the most relevant example is a state that's getting ready to go live here in the next few months. And this is for a child support engagement where we've been providing independent oversight for the federal agency as well as the AG's office. So from the beginning of this project, it's unique in child support that they think about what it takes to be certified. What is the functionality that is the must-have in order for the system to be certified as functioning as it should. And we worked with the client to think about that at the beginning of the project. Why is that important? It's important that they're thinking about what the functionality is that's required at the start. So as they're going through design, validating requirements, going through development, establishing their testing strategy, that they're thinking about the functionality and the outcome from the start. And by doing that throughout that engagement, not only can they be sure as they're getting ready to go live, they've met all that functionality through testing and testing again. But on the back end, typically states don't start thinking about that until after the system's in production. So that means it takes another year after implementation to make sure it's ready to be certified. So the value for the client is being able to potentially receive federal certification earlier. And that means they're done with that vendor support and they can move into operations sooner by receiving that certification early and potentially reduce the risk of having to do some rework after the system goes live.
Mm-hmm. And is this something you do across a number of states? It sounds like this example is with one state first.
Right. This is an example I wanted to give you an actual example from a state.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a new approach in child support, but we're starting to leverage that across other state child support agencies that we're working with. Medicaid was implemented quite a while ago, but the federal oversight agency changes, their requirements change. So it's something that we learned from another area and applied it to child support.
Got it. And it's primarily a technology implementation to streamline this whole process.
Correct. And implement newer technologies.
And is it working with homegrown technology or third-party software?
It's a third-party software. So there is a vendor in there. So the process that I'm explaining is not a technology solution. It is an approach to overseeing their technology implementation. We don't provide actual technology solutions, but by using this methodology and approach with oversight of technology implementations, it's really helping, I think, to streamline that process post go live.
I see. And a lot of these state agencies have the ability to choose between consulting firms. And I can imagine in certain cases it could be competitive if the contract is particularly a significant one. How do you typically differentiate CSG from your competitors, when you're speaking with prospective clients?
I would say that we are a company of team-oriented people, and we are very intentional about how we operate and manage. We have an infrastructure that promotes continuous learning and support for our consultants, so our consultants can be consultants. We're focused on, first and foremost, service delivery and delivering high quality services that provide value. And not for that to sound like a commercial, because it really isn't. I really are truly focused on the quality output of our deliverables. We have documented methodologies on how we approach project management, for example, and we are training and educating our team before a contract is signed. They're working together to talk about how are we going to be successful in the first 60 days. What's important about that, and then also I would say, which I do think is a differentiator amongst our competitors, we dedicate resources 100% for each engagement. That means the consultants assigned to your project are only working on your project. Very, very important for our clients so that we're 100% focused on their project, and for our people so that our staff are not stretched with conflicts across projects. They're not pressured to work 60, 80 hours a week because they're trying to cover off multiple projects. The importance of having a dedicated resources is to really focus on what are the risks or threats with the client's engagement, and that's all someone's working on. And I think that truly is a differentiator for us. In this state government space, it's a very, very small world, right? The 52 Medicaid directors all talk to each other. The child support directors all talk to each other. We can have an excellent reputation or one that's not that great. And all of our potential clients are going to know it. So I
Mhm.
think that really is a differentiator for us is the references and experience that we bring to the table, as well as the consultants.
And what's been kind of in your experience in the space of state government, what's been the most challenging aspect to maybe a lot of these state governments and modernizing or becoming more efficient?
We can provide our experience to the state agency, and there's often multiple paths to the end. And I understand, having worked in state government, that there's always budget pressure, always.
Mm-hmm.
The last 15 years, there's always budget pressure. So there's a risk or pressure to go and implement a system because we have a date on a calendar. And there's the conflict of quality and what level of quality is enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always going to be the pressure of time versus quality. And then for us as a consulting firm, we're one input. There are multiple consultants doing different jobs on projects. There's the system implementation vendor, there's a quality vendor, there's a project management office, and there's independent oversight. And we may all disagree on the path forward. It really is up to the state to make the decision that's in the best interest for the state from where they sit. And I've had to give messages to our state client. Maybe they don't want to hear, but for us, we have to be fully transparent with here's what you need to know. Here are the inputs. Here are the risks associated with going live. Here are the risks if you don't go live, because there are often risks on both sides. Here's what you can do about it. And then it's the state person's decision. So sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't, but at least we've provided full information to help educate them and to make an informed decision.
Now, shifting focus internally to the firm, can you tell us about maybe the culture of CSG? Presumably it's an important thing for you to be able to both attract and retain talent to grow your consulting operations. So can you tell us a little bit about the culture?
It is very much a team-oriented environment. And I don't just say that, it's not just a motto, it's how we operate. So we have a pretty rigorous interview process that is conversational in nature, but it really is, we are looking for other great people that have a team-oriented mindset to work together. I'm on the senior management team along with the CEO and four of my peers, and we lead the company as a team. And that approach to teamwork is how we were able to achieve that at all levels. We're involved. We talk about risks and issues weekly. I just had a meeting earlier today where we do executive reviews with every one of our projects, our project managers, multiple times a year to joint problem solve if there are risks that are present on a client's engagement or to our engagement. And that approach to leadership, staying connected to every single one of our client engagements internally and talking through that really, I think, sets the tone for very team-oriented, transparent organization.
And is there something you look for in certain candidates to be a good fit within your culture?
I think it's their experience and being able to demonstrate their approach to teamwork, this type of work, their analytical thinking, and their presence.
Something interesting, obviously, is the new administration. And, having spoken to other folks in the government consulting space, as this election was happening, I was asking the question, well, what's going to happen to all those government contractors out there? I'm curious to get your take, what you think or what you're seeing, the implications on the government, and as a result, government consulting.
I would just say, I don't have a lot to say on that
Hmm.
topic, but I would say that we're working with technology and on technology projects. And some states are still operating on systems that are 20, 25 years old, which
Hmm.
for technology is ancient.
Hmm.
So we have to wait and see because I don't have a crystal ball on that. But what I do understand is the value that technology can bring to these agencies to be able to be more efficient operationally, as I talked about, and improve efficiency of administering programs so the programs can really focus on the neediest of the population, right? It doesn't matter what program we're talking about, whether it's Medicaid, child support, child welfare, where children are in risky situations. The better the technology, the more efficient and effective the agencies will be to better serve those populations. So just have to wait and see on what's going to happen. But
You mentioned several areas. Are there certain areas or maybe even like sub-segments, like specialty areas that you're particularly excited about?
so there are a couple things where organizational change management is what happens around the systems that are being implemented. And where I started, one of the biggest challenges with a failed implementation was part of that was the fault of the system and technology and some deficiencies there. The other part of that is the organization being ready to receive the technology. So I think an OCM, I think nationally is being recognized as very, very important. Some other state agencies may have had similar experiences where unless the worker, the caseworker, the claims evaluator, the agencies and the people, the end user needs to be prepared to use technology. Change is scary. Changing systems is scary. I'll tell you that. My daughter has to teach me on my iPhone how to, do certain things. But being ready and in front of that and providing the messaging along the way, it's less scary. So I think that's the biggest thing that I see right now. And then, of course, we're also, I think, all trying to understand this explosion of AI and how that coming into state agencies, how do you use it to the good of these programs, again, to achieve efficiencies, but without introducing too much risk that there could be, you don't want it in a decision-making mode where there could be adversity and decisions being made unintentionally where you need that human intervention.
We're coming up on time. I do have two final questions. One is, can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
I will tell you, I've been with this company for 13 years, and I will say that our CEO, John Halsworth, truly is visionary, and he's made me a better leader, really, in the way that he seeks to understand information before formulating a solution. We are all quick to problem solve, but asking questions and then really listening to understand is something that I practice every day. And he's had that influence on me. He also encourages fully transparent communication in our organization. If there is a problem, we can't solve it unless we know about it. So I'd rather be solving and resolving molehills than waiting till something festers and becomes a mountain. And then lastly, the focus on developing our next leaders. We've created a training program about 8 years ago that really is, I think, the most important part of my role is to help facilitate and train our next leaders, and really critical for our continued growth.
Excellent. Last question. Can you tell us about a charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about?
Absolutely. Girls Inc. of Chicago is a great organization. They deliver programs that ensure girls from Chicago's South Side have opportunities and experiences to thrive in the classroom, in the boardroom, and beyond. So they're really working to build the next generation of strong, smart, and bold women leaders through direct service and advocacy.
That's wonderful. And we'll include a link to that organization in our show notes. Well, that concludes our conversation. Robin, I want to thank you again for taking the time. This really has been a great conversation.
Great. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.